Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to do, I was going to say a really quick page in my traveler's notebook. Now, the video is quick and I'll explain why it wasn't actually a quick page in just a second. I'm using a bunch of exclusive products from Citrus Twist today, including a whole bunch of these printable traveler's notebook papers. You can see I printed a whole bunch at the start of the month and I'm still going on them. I just feel like I've had a lot of kind of craft stories this month, including this one here. This is the photo of when I put the sewing machine needle through my finger. And a question that I get asked a lot is how I decide where my photos go. So what goes into a notebook versus my project life. And this photo was actually part of the photos for week 5 project life, which is what I've done this week. I chose not to put it into project life because it's got a little bit of a longer story and it wasn't really going to fit without kind of rushing it. So that's how I picked a notebook for this photo. But the reality is I don't really sweat that kind of stuff. So if I had put it in project life this week, I would have been totally fine with that too. While I've been chatting, I've been distributing some of these die cuts around the page. I ended up deciding on this fun kind of ginghamy grid kind of paper along with this other more vintage looking one. But what I did do was stop the video and go and do a little bit of stitching. I thought that it kind of was appropriate for the story, like having some actual thread on there. I've picked out one of those little spools of thread die cuts. It just kind of worked for it. So I didn't do like a back stitch on here. I just did a running stitch on every second line. It still took me about an hour. It wasn't too arduous. I just put on an episode and stitched away. There I am. I've got everything stuck down on the page and now I can go back to those die cuts and have another go at them. Because those papers that I picked out are full of, I'm going to call it yellow, but they're definitely like a citrony yellow. And although I don't dislike them, it's taking me a little bit of time to kind of get used to them. So I want to add some other color into here. And again, along with that kind of stitching theme, I've got the little spool of thread, but there were lots of these little floral clusters in the pack, and they're kind of like embroidered florals. So they kind of worked nicely with the theme as well. Now I'm adding that little tabbed piece. I have flipped it upside down. The colors just didn't really work on this background. I need somewhere that I want to like stamp a title, so I just used that as kind of a background piece to give me a clean area for stamping. I'm not 100% sold on either of this, the craft time or the little scissors. I'm just going to start stamping my title and see how I go. And my title is going to read, well, I want it to say extreme. And so I was going to have like extreme craft time. But in the end, it doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to end up stamping extreme crafting. This whole page kind of came about because I sustained this injury while I was filming another Traveler's Notebook video, and I had kind of mentioned that in the video, and Sarah from Sara Scraps had said that this proved that crafting was an extreme sport. And although, like, it really hurt, it just made me laugh. So I had to kind of document, I guess, the comment more than the actual incident itself. So in the end, I decided not to go for craft time because I was kind of like forcing it to use this cute die cut. And again, now that I've stamped the word extreme, like it doesn't really fit with craft time either. So I just go ahead and stamp crafting underneath. But I'm using that Sophie alphabet stamp set from Citrus Twist, and it's got like the 2 weights in there. So I used the bolder one for extreme, so I decided to use the lighter one underneath. Luckily I had kind of left enough room to stamp that in there. I used my ruler guide for the first line. The second line I don't need to because I've got the sort of bottom of that die cut piece to use as a shelf, so that worked out really nicely. The only thing that I wasn't like super loving was the black. It seemed like a bit I don't know, just out of sorts because it's over there on its own. So I decided to add, I mean, a tiny little bit of black down here on this other photo. So I'm just stamping the word ouch. This tiny little typewriter stamp set isn't available anymore, which is a real shame because it's one of my favorites. But there is one that's slightly bigger, and that's the Harper Alpha, but the little one was perfect for just that tiny little corner of my photo. Now I'm going to add some journaling to this page because obviously I want to tell the story, but I went and typed it out, and I typed it out on white paper and cut it all up into strips and was going to stick it down, and I just didn't love all of that extra white there. It kind of takes away from my cluster that I've built, so I decided to try again. I've typed my journaling twice onto vellum this time, a little strip of vellum, so that I could run it through my Xyron machine. That's why it has to be so little, because I only have a little Xyron. But I've run that through, and then I can hide the adhesive of the vellum. So you can see here when I put it down, because the entire piece of vellum is sticky, you don't see the adhesive behind it. So it's one of my favorite tricks for hiding adhesive behind vellum journaling like this. It's just I'm a little bit restricted in the size of my Xyron machine. So I have to work in tiny little pieces, and I'm just cutting them up and kind of sticking them back together where they fit into the sentence, because I can't fit anything this wide through my machine, so I have to do it this way. Otherwise I would have done it in just one big chunk rather than cutting them all into tiny little strips like this. Now the last thing that I want to do is I did decide that I wanted to add those scissors back on. I just need to make sure that they're kind of in the right space. They're going to cover up both the journaling and the title a little bit, so I'm just balancing out how much of each that actually takes up, and I'm just going to adhere those down. I did end up having to kind of push them quite a long way off the page, and so I'll just trim those off. You still get enough of the little I don't know, the finger holes, so that you can kind of see that they're scissors, but it's probably not quite as far across as I would have had it had I planned for it in the first place. But there we go. That is my super easy and quick page. Well, super easy and quick video anyway. The stitching did take a little bit longer. I'm really happy with how this one came out. Hey, thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye.